Beneath the towering stone of Rome's greatest arena, a young gladiator waits in the darkness. The air is thick with dust, sweat, and the distant thunder of a crowd gathering far above his head. Somewhere beyond the tunnel walls, tens of thousands of citizens are taking their seats, their voices slowly merging into a restless ocean of anticipation. For them, the games are celebration, an empire displaying its power through courage, spectacle, and blood. But for the men standing in the shadows below, the feeling is very different. Here in the underground corridors of the Colosseum, every breath carries the weight of uncertainty. Each fighter knows that once the gates rise and the sunlight floods the tunnel, the world will be watching. Rome in the 1st century stands at the height of its power. A city of marble temples, crowded markets, and relentless ambition. The Colosseum rises at its heart, like a monument to imperial glory. Yet beneath its arches lies a harsher truth. Glory in this arena is never freely given. It must be earned in sand, in steel, and often in blood. As the sun climbs over the rooftops of Rome, the city begins to surge with life. Narrow streets fill with merchants, gamblers, and citizens all moving towards the same destination, the Colosseum. For the people of the empire, the games are more than spectacle. They are a ritual of power, a reminder that Rome stands above all others. Vendors shout, coins pass quietly between bettors, and musicians prepare the horns that will announce the beginning of the day's contests. High above the arena floor, marble statues of emperors and gods overlook the swelling crowd, like silent witnesses to Rome's ambitions. Yet beneath the sand of the arena, the atmosphere remains tense and quiet. Down in the dim chambers below, the gladiators wait together in uneasy silence. Some whisper prayers to Mars, hoping the god of war will grant them strength. Others close their eyes, remembering distant homes far beyond the reach of Rome. Above them, fresh sand has been spread across the arena floor, carefully covering the dark stains of yesterday's battles. Soon enough, that sand will be called upon to hide new stories of courage, fear, and survival. Not every gladiator who waits beneath the Colosseum was born a warrior. Many began their journey far from Rome, in distant provinces where the empire's armies marched and conquered. Some were captured on the battlefield, others taken from villages that resisted Roman rule. In a single moment, their lives changed forever. Chains replaced freedom, and the long road to Rome began. When they finally reached the capital, they were no longer seen as men with homes or histories, but as property to be sold and trained. Inside the gladiator schools, the lanista, the master of the fighters, studied each new arrival carefully, searching for strength, endurance, and the spark of survival. Those who showed promise were fed, trained, and shaped for the arena. It was a harsh bargain: discipline, pain, and constant danger in exchange for a small chance at glory. Day after day, the captives learned the language of combat. Slowly, fear began to harden into determination, and within the walls of the training school, slaves were transformed into something Rome admired and feared at the same time: gladiators. Before the sun fully claims the sky above Rome, the gladiator school is already alive with movement. Life inside the Ludus Magnus follows a rhythm of strict discipline, where every hour is shaped by preparation for the arena. A harsh bell echoes through the stone corridors, calling the fighters from their crowded sleeping quarters. The air is cold in the early morning, and the stone floor beneath their feet reminds them that comfort has no place here.
Keep the poultice warm and stay
Their
off the
first
wine.
meal is simple but essential: thick barley porridge, the food that fuels bodies built for endurance rather than luxury. Roman physicians move among the men, examining bruises, tightening bandages, and studying old wounds with careful eyes. A healthy fighter is valuable, and every scar tells a story of survival.
Around the yard, leather straps are fastened, protective wrappings are tied, and heavy helmets are lifted into place. Instructors watch silently, measuring strength, balance, and discipline. Because every man training here understands a single truth. One day soon, he will walk into the arena, and Rome itself will judge his courage. As the morning advances, the training yard fills with the sounds of effort and discipline. Under the watchful gaze of veteran instructors, the gladiators begin the relentless drills that shape them into fighters worthy of the arena. Heavy wooden swords crash again and again against thick training posts, each strike echoing through the courtyard like a distant drum of war. These practice weapons are deliberately heavier than the real blades used in combat, forcing the body to grow stronger with every movement. Around the yard, pairs of fighters circle one another carefully, learning to read balance, timing, and intention. A single mistake here can become a fatal one in the arena. Dust rises with every step as shields collide and muscles strain beneath the weight of armor. Exhaustion spreads quickly, yet the training never slows. In this place, skill is not a luxury. It is survival
Keep your guard
itself.
high, Marcus. Never drop your defense.
Every strike, every
Focus
block,
now, again.
every step through the sand is a preparation for the moment when the gates of the Colosseum open and the watching world demands a battle worth remembering. By midday, the heat of the Roman sun settles heavily over the training grounds of the Ludus Magnus. The sand beneath the fighters' feet grows hot, and the air itself seems to shimmer with exhaustion. Yet the training does not stop. Instructors push the gladiators harder, demanding precision, endurance, and discipline with every movement. Shields slam forward, blades strike and withdraw, and the rhythm of combat practice echoes across the courtyard. Each lesson teaches more than strength. The fighters learn patience, learning how to wait for the smallest opening, how to conserve energy while their opponent tires. Around them, sweat darkens the sand, and bruises bloom across tired muscles. But no one is allowed to rest for long. Every man here understands what waits beyond these walls. Somewhere across the city, the Colosseum towers over Rome like a silent promise of glory and danger. The crowds will not remember the months of training or the pain endured in this yard. They will remember only the battle. And when that moment comes, preparation may be the only thing standing between survival and death. As the afternoon shadows slowly stretch across the city of Rome, a quiet tension begins to settle over the gladiator school. Word travels through the stone corridors with little need for explanation. Today is the day of the games. What has been practiced through endless mornings of sweat and discipline will soon be tested before the eyes of the Empire. Servants move through the barracks carrying shields, helmets, and armor prepared for the spectacle ahead. The fighters ready themselves in silence. Some murmur brief prayers to the gods, hoping that Mars will grant them courage when the moment comes. Others sit alone with their thoughts, conserving strength for what lies ahead. Beyond the walls of the Ludus Magnus, the Colosseum is already alive with noise as thousands of spectators gather for the event. For the people of Rome, the games promise excitement and glory. But for the men preparing to enter the arena, the meaning is far simpler. When the gates finally open, only skill, courage, and fortune will decide who leaves the sand alive. At last, the waiting comes to an end. From the dark tunnels beneath the Colosseum, the gladiators begin their slow walk toward the blazing light of the arena above. With every step, the distant roar of the crowd grows louder, echoing through the stone passageways like thunder rolling through a canyon. When they finally emerge into the open, the vast amphitheater reveals itself in full scale. Tens of thousands of spectators rise from their seats, their voices merging into a storm of anticipation. Across the sand stands another trained warrior, armed differently, yet bound to the same uncertain fate. For a brief moment, the arena falls into a strange and fragile stillness. Shields lift, feet shift cautiously across the sand, and both fighters search for the smallest weakness in the other.
Then the distance closes, and steel crashes against steel. Dust rises, the crowd erupts, and the struggle begins in earnest. In this arena of empire, courage and skill may win glory, but survival is always balanced on the edge of fate. When the roar of the arena finally fades, and the crowds drift back into the streets of Rome, the lives of the gladiators continue in quieter shadows. Some return from the sand with wounds that will mark them forever, while others never leave the arena at all, their names remembered only briefly by the cheering masses. For those who survive, victory brings a strange mixture of pride and isolation. They have stood before the power of Rome and lived. Yet the arena always waits for the next contest, the next test of courage beneath the blazing sun. Years pass, and even the strongest fighters eventually lay down their weapons. The Colosseum itself endures, its towering arches watching as centuries move forward. Empires change, rulers vanish, and the noise of the ancient games fades into history. But the memory of those who fought within these walls remains etched in stone and sand. Their battles were more than spectacle. They were a reflection of a civilization that believed glory could be forged through struggle.